Finally, we've heard LeBron James on the Rockets general manager Daryl Morey's tweet that had a ripple effect around the world. In case you're unfamiliar with the situation, Morey tweeted support of Hong Kong anti-government protesters. Here's LeBron's reaction yesterday.
When we all sit back and learn from the situation that happened, understand that what you could tweet or could say, and we all talk about this freedom of speech. Yes, we all do have freedom of speech. But at times there are ramifications for the negative that can happen when you're not thinking about others and you're only thinking about yourself. So I don't believe I don't want to get into a word or sentence feud with Daryl Morey, but I believe he wasn't educated on the situation at hand, and he spoke, and so many people could have been harmed. Not only financially, but physically, emotionally, spiritually. So just be careful what we tweet and we say and what we do, even though, yes, we do have freedom of speech, but there can be a lot of negative that comes with that too.
Okay, LeBron put out these two tweets after his media availability clarifying his position. Let me clear up the confusion. I do not believe there is any consideration for the consequences and ramifications of the tweet. I'm not discussing the substance. Others can talk about that. My team in this league just went through a difficult week. I think people need to understand what a tweet or statement can do to others. And I believe nobody stopped and considered what would happen. It could have waited a week to send it. Max, critics feel that LeBron chose to shut up and dribble on this topic. What's your reaction?
I appreciate LeBron's point about the timing. If our guys are over there and you make a tweet supporting freedom in and people are in an area controlled by a repressive communist government, you feel like you could endanger them, maybe even physically. Of course, there's a whole other argument. Wait a minute. A tweet supporting freedom can physically endanger our guys, and the danger comes from the government itself? Maybe they shouldn't be over there in the first place. That's a separate argument to be had. I also understand the point that, look, yeah, but we've done that calculation, and we've decided to send them over anyway and be careful. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate the fact that LeBron James, when you look at Nike and his movie deals, like you want to distribute in China, all these things, maybe you could argue has $1 billion worth of business in China. And he doesn't want to jeopardize $1 billion. I get it. But you know what it's called when you don't make a comment on the substance? Although LeBron's tweeted out statements, as other people have retweeted in the last 24 hours, you know, the Martin Luther King statement, a threat to justice anywhere is I just misphrased it, but I get that. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right. I would have helped you out earlier. I just forgot it myself.
Anyway, I'm a little worked up about this.
Okay, I got you.
It's called selling out. When $1 billion of business you don't want disturbed, so now you're quiet. In this instance, it's called selling out. I understand it's a very high price, and I'm not saying how I would behave given the same circumstances if I had $1 billion in the line. But that's what it's called. It's very easy to take a stand when there's low to no cost, right? Then you can take a stand. When the cost is high, when there's a real price to pay for taking a stand, then who will stand up? Muhammad Ali, in this case, not LeBron James.
There's a lot to dig deep in here. First of all, let me say this. I 1,000% support LeBron James' statement here. 1,000%. I stand with him in terms of what he said. But that doesn't mean that I ignore the inconsistencies of LeBron James' statement in the process. In other words, what you said in this regard, and listen to this carefully, Max, because I respect, you highlighting just your feelings of moral indignation, and I get where you're coming from, and I don't disagree with what you're coming from. But it's important to take LeBron James' words into its proper context, like you did when you started off your soliloquy. LeBron James said the tweet could have waited. LeBron James said Daryl Morey could have waited. He's right about that. He basically accused Daryl Morey of not thinking about anybody but himself, because one has to surmise that, because the only other conclusion to draw is that Daryl Morey didn't know what he was doing. And it's hard to imagine that when you consider the fact that the Houston Rockets, courtesy of their relationship with Yao Ming, their former player who's now the president of the Chinese Basketball Federation, and a close relationship and connection he has to the franchise, it's hard to imagine that Daryl Morey had no clue whatsoever what the potential fallout could be, because you know you're dealing with China. They are a communist nation. They do run their ship considerably different than ours, okay? We might have shared interests, but we don't have shared values, as you pointed out last week, Max. If we know that, Daryl Morey had to know that. One, he's too intelligent not to have known that. So LeBron James challenging him is basically saying, how could you have engaged in selective amnesia at that particular moment in time when you know we all over there and we might have to end up having to deal with some stuff that we didn't ask to have to deal with? And I think that LeBron James has a point there. But there are others that will point to LeBron James once calling the president, quote unquote, a bum. One would point to LeBron James and how outspoken he has been and saying, excuse me, what hypocrisy, because here was Daryl Morey with his 7-word tweet or so, and you're getting on him about that. I don't necessarily think it vibes, but I'm telling you that's what people are going to say.
He's saying Daryl Morey didn't think about other people, but you could argue he was only thinking about other people, the people of China.
But what I'm saying is the reason why LeBron James was saying that, because more directly, he's alluding to the fact that we got NBA people over there.
Yeah,
and
he's alluding to the business interests of the NBA.
Well, not just that, the fact that those players are over there at that particular moment in time, and as a result, they're going to have to deal with it on Chinese soil as opposed to American soil, which becomes a bit more comprehensive and a bit more dicier than one would have imagined. But I do think that it's important to point this out. At the end of the day, what this comes down to is I do not believe that LeBron James is selling out. And if he is selling out, you're a sellout. I'm a sellout, and a whole bunch of people are. Because let me tell you something right now, and I get so sick and tired of these trolls and people. I got somebody told me about John Oliver. He said something about me. I didn't see it. I don't care. He's entitled to his opinion. Everybody is entitled to their opinion.
We all have haters.
But the thing that absolutely throws me off, we work for ESPN. Oh, my God, it's a crime for me to take the interest of ESPN into consideration. I don't see a writer for the New York Post talking about the New York Post. I don't see a writer for the New York Daily News talking about the New York Daily News. I don't see it at the LA Times. I don't see it at the Washington Post. I don't see it at HBO. I don't see it at Fox. I don't see it anything. The fact that we're going to sit up here with a straight face and act like it's such a crime, or we're selling our souls to take the interest of the people we represent into consideration, is foolishness. People need to put on their grown-up pants and recognize the fact that that is a part of our reality, no matter where we look,
let me address
no matter
that.
where we go.
Let me address that.
Please.
If you are quoting injustice anywhere as a threat to justice everywhere, and you are standing up for the low cost to you social issues, then when there's a price to pay, we want to see how you react. I started out by saying if I had $1 billion on the line, I don't know, I get selling out there, but let's call it what it is. Here's something you could say. What bothered me about LeBron is not the timing thing, is nothing like that. It's the complete avoidance of the central issue, which is not complicated. Here's something LeBron should say, in my opinion. LeBron, I think you should say this, and I think others should too. Okay. And if this disrupts business with China, then we shouldn't be doing business with China. They should say the following. I believe and support freedom. I think people should be free. Well, how does that apply to this? That's all I'm going to say about this. I believe in and I support freedom. And by the way, this extends also to Steve Kerr, who made a comment I did not like. He was making a moral equivalency in a roundabout way between the United States and China in order to avoid talking about China, to not cause a disruption, particularly when our guys were over there. I get it. But the thing to do now is to not make moral equivalencies, to not say, no, let's look over here instead of over there, to not say, well, this is very complicated. I don't know enough about it. The thing to do now is say, I believe in freedom, and I think people should be free. That's an easy one, and you can leave it at that. That can be your comment on China, Hong Kong, the United States, the plight of the African American in the United States, the plight of any oppressed people, the plight of or the issue where anyone their speech is being repressed. That's a comment to me.
And I'm saying to you that if you have a multitude of spokesmen and women speaking on a particular issue, and you are behind the scenes making things happen, that's another way to handle it. And I'll end it by saying